Hey everyone, Kyle once again, and welcome back to the next movie review, and back to one of the newer, reviewing another one of the newer movies. One from last year, which surprisingly I enjoyed. I liked. Now, would it have been in my top favorite films of last year, which I haven't. I still haven't put that video out though. I know I've been lagging on that though, but I've just been busy with other videos, So, and of course, outside doing this, work and everything else. So, but one day I'll eventually get around to do that though. But I don't think I would not put as in my top 10 though, but overall I still surprisingly I liked it, I did not see this in the theater because originally I had no interest because I was getting tired of the series, and plus the trailer, especially the trailer for this film, it was so poorly done. It made it look like making it look like another dumb comedy, I'm like, well, that's one of the reasons why this film didn't do that well, because of the marketing. I'm like, yeah, I don't blame them, because that's what it was advertised as, So yeah, it was the marketing why this film did not do that well. No one went to see the film, so and it bombed, So today we're reviewing of the animated film Transformers 1. Transformers 1 from last year in 2024. Like I said, I liked. I don't know why every time I start doing, as soon as I get on camera, I start yawning. I have no idea why. I don't do it that much when I'm off camera. I don't know why. It's just such a bad running joke, But the film didn't do that well because, like I said, when it was advertised from the first trailer, it was so poorly done. I think that's one of the reasons why this film bombed, because they said what they said was the marketing. Yes, I think it was. Because they marketed so poorly, despite the fact being praised by critics as an 89% Rotten Tomatoes. They just did this film so poorly, And also my thoughts overall on the series, because I'm not really big into Transformers. I didn't grow up with Transformers. I was more into other cartoons and stuff, right, growing up, or other children's TV shows that I grew up watching. So I was never into. I didn't grow up with Transformers. I didn't have the interest in watching Transformers. Now I do remember watching the '80s animated film, and overall I gotta say, I was not a fan of the original animated film from the '80s. I mean, I liked the animation from back then. Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime. Hey, it was cool to hear Leonard Nimoy in there, which he would later voice Sentinel Prime in the third Transformers action Michael Bay film as Sentinel Prime. But it was cool to hear Leonard Nimoy in there. Judd Nelson. I mean, he's one of the reasons why he got Optimus killed. I didn't care for his character Hot Rod. I mean, Optimus Prime had a cool moment, then he ends up dying. The part of the result of Hot Rod, which is the character Judd Nelson voices. I didn't care for him because, hey, he was a much better, cooler character than you, and you got him killed. Thanks a lot. Yeah, and that was a stupid song choices, like what was it, Dare to Be Stupid? Did not fit it did not fit in that movie at all. So overall, I was not a fan of the original '80s Transformers film. Sad to say. I know I'll probably get blasphemy for that, but I would probably say I like this anime film better than the '80s film. I'll probably get blasted for that though. But hey, matter of opinion though. But this is the first animated Transformers films since the '80s animated film. But because I thought overall, why I surprisingly liked it, I thought the animation was well done. Definitely, especially when it comes on the Autobots and stuff. The character designs I thought was nice and really good looking, and visually good looking. And the voice cast, you have Chris Hemsworth as Optimus Prime. You got Brian Tyree Henry as Megatron. Well, before that, they were named. Since this is an origin story, they weren't named Optimus Prime or Megatron. But like Optimus' original name was Orion Pax, and Megatron's name was D16. So, but they voices those. You have Scarlett Johansson voicing the female bot. I want to get the names. Alita 1. And you got Michael Keegan-Michael Key of Key and Peele voicing. We voice Bumblebee. Other ones, you got Steve Buscemi voicing Starscream. You got Laurence Fishburne as Alpha Trion. And you got John Hamm as Sentinel Prime. Another actor I like, John Hamm. So overall, pretty decent cast though. I'm getting sick and tired of doing this now. I bet y'all are sick of me hear me yawn on screen. I mean, it's funny. Like I don't do it that much off camera, but as soon as the camera comes on, it just annoys the piss out of me. You know, when I do that. But and also it distracts me, makes me mammer and stutter my words when I do this crap. But now overall, yes, I do like the film, but there are a couple of issues, of course. But overall, it was a surprise to me, you know, as a guy who's not overall. I mean, the Michael Bay movies, the only one I can still tolerate, I can watch is still the first one. To me, the first Transformers is the best one of those movies, because from then on they kept getting worse and worse, you know, especially the humor and it just kept getting worse and worse, you know. So the first one of the Transformers films from Michael Bay was I can probably watch, because they kept getting worse and worse, you know, and ridiculous, over the top and stuff, you know. So, but anyway, getting to this though. Now this is an origin story, and there are no human characters, which thank God, you know. It's one of the big issues with these films. So, taking place on Cybertron, we have our two characters, and which is an origin story, because back then, this is when Optimus and Megatron, they were friends, you know. They were friends, they were good buddies with each other, you know, and, you know, having some fun back and forth between each other, acting as really good buddies. Of course, eventually, when time went into their journey, you know, to save their world, you know, this is when the splitting of their friendship became, you know, which is the cliche, you know, two people who are friends eventually become enemies to each other, you know. It's cliche we've seen before though, so it's not new at all. But I did buy the relationship between these two, you know, how them being good friends, you know, until eventually they split and become enemies to each other. And so Orion Pax, that's Optimus, and then, which I'm not gonna keep saying that because I'm not gonna say how their names were, because we all know who they are. So back then, when Optimus Prime and Megatron, there was this thing where they had these primes, you know, where they didn't have those cogs, right? The cogs. They're called cogs, which makes them transform, right? You know, they transform into the vehicles and stuff that we know, right? And they get told the stories about these primes, you know, and how they're heroes and all that. But eventually, you learn down the story, though, things are not what the stories were not all what they were told to be, right? You know, and there's more things that are going askew and shenanigans that were going on that you know, of course, lead to the phrase that Optimus Prime always says, you know, there's more to it than meets the eye. So, that's it's more stuff that plays on later on. So, but we show how the two of them, how they're close friends, always trying to have each other's backs, but they're miners working in this mining company, and then they want to have the opportunity. Hey, let's go into this race. Let's see how these two nobodies like us can just compete in this race and win. Right. Well, of course, Megatron is like, hey, we don't have to win. We can't win, but we don't have to. And so they get these jetpacks and they complete this race, and which Megatron gets back. Which eventually leads into that he gets into the race, and then Optimus Prime could have won, but he goes back to help his friend. They lose. And then Sentinel Prime, voiced by John Hamm, he comes in to congratulate them. Hey, good work, And they got praised, but it's their boss, who they beat in the race, gets pissed, and they dump them down into the more like the waste disposal and stuff, and that's where they first meet Bumblebee, voiced by Keegan-Michael Key. And that's one of the issues I have with the film. I was never a fan of Keegan, and he was annoying as Bumblebee. He just wouldn't shut up about it, You want to tell him to shut up, but he wouldn't. I'm like, I mean, there was moments of humor in this film because which you probably won't see Optimus do though. He was like, hey, my finger can transform into this, kind of like preparing to give us the middle finger, right? But he doesn't do it though. He doesn't do it though, but he was given the gesture that he was going to though. Like, oh, my finger can transform into this, and then doesn't do it. It's like that did get a chuckle out of me, that did. There's too much. We don't need a comic relief. Do we need a comic relief in this? But Michael Keegan Key, of voicing Bumblebee, he was as annoying to me. And Scarlett Johansson, she's doing what she can though. She's not one of my favorite parts of the film either. So because her role as Alita 1, she's one who's kind of being the tough female. I'm like, when they're flying towards our job, I'm like, who's gonna help me get my promotion? This and that. I'm like, okay. I pretty much don't want to follow you though. I'd rather follow our two leads, And then eventually, when their journey begins, because things are not quite as they seem, especially a lot of things they've been told, things are not quite as what they were told to be. And this is where they want to go. They want to get up to the surface, and they want to find out what's going on, what the whole thing of the stories, and with the primes and everything. And then Alita and Bumblebee, they join the two of them on their journey. And now, like I said, like the way they marketed this film was so poorly done. It was supposed to it was supposed to be meant for like little kids, right? They just handled this so poorly. This whole story of the film, with the marketing, the trailers, making it was like more it was more comedy than more being serious, and that was such a huge mistake, with how they marketed this, because that's why hardly people went to see the movie, and the film bombed because of this. Because the first half, okay, it did some with showcasing where the two characters being friends, they having some fun with each other, it was a little fun and games, right? But when more in the second half of the film goes, it starts becoming more serious. That's why I was getting now. Okay, I'm more engaged now in the story because it's getting more serious, and they're putting it in bad situations and more dire straits, right? Because they have to learn how to save the world, their home from these things called what were they called? The quintessence. Quintessence, what I'm sorry, I don't know anything about these things from in this Transformers lore. I don't, so please, I don't know anything. I'm not an expert, and which also because they have to find the matrix of leadership. You know, like from the films, you know, the Matrix, right? You know, the cube, the Matrix. That's what gives them like their core and stuff, you know. So that's what gives them the power of the Prime, right? So that's what they do. They have to go find the lost matrices of leadership, and at the same time dealing with these quintessence. Like I said, I don't know anything about the quintessence, so I'm no expert on Transformers. So please, I don't know anything about these things. So, and eventually when they meet with Laurence Fishburne's character, who tells them the truth about that they've been lied to their whole lives, you know. Why? Because, you know, the cogs they have, you know, that they given to them so they can transform, they were purposely removed from them when they were created, you know. They purposely removed them. So, and this we start seeing the slow change in Megatron, you know, because he's been lied to, and he got the name Megatron because it was a name that he was admiring, you know, and you know, but when he first met Optimus Prime, he was like, hey, that's good, you know, you admire him, you know, hey, let's be friends, you know. And then as we see, because like I said, we get the slow change in Megatron. It's like, hey, well, I'll never trust a Prime again. I'm like, Laurence Fishburne's character was a Prime, and he's told you the whole truth about the whole behind the scenes story of it, you know. And then eventually the one thing leads to another into the third act, and was getting really it's getting really good now. And then we see now eventually Optimus Prime, well, he gets the matrix of leadership. He becomes what we know of Optimus Prime, and we hear really like his voice kind of like turn into Peter Cullen's voice. Well, he can't replicate his voice, but he was, you know how Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime always talk like there's more to it than meets the eye. We see Chris Hemsworth, he was talking as Prime, he was talking in more of a lighter tone. We eventually, towards the end of the movie, especially before the credits go, then he starts talking in sort of the Peter Cullen type voice, you know. I am Megatron. No, I am Optimus Prime. So we see that, okay, because we see, okay, to him, he was talking more of a lighter tone, like, more like a kid, right? Now, like, more kind of like, he got the matrix of leadership, talking more like a mature adult, right? And he's talking more in the sense of the voice of Peter Cullen. Which probably wish that it was Peter Cullen again, though, but some of the dialogue, you know, how the way these Transformers talk, you know, like, okay, Peter, he's like, it's kind of weird to hear Peter Cullen talking that type of dialogue, you know? So, I kind of get that, though, but we see him become, like, the Optimus that we know of, and now that Megatron has become a turncoat on him now, he fights Sentinel Prime, about ready to kill him. Optimus Prime stops him, say, hey, we can be better than this. He took a hit. At first, Megatron kind of felt guilty about it, but then he goes and says, you know, I'm done saving you. The two of them fight each other. You know, and Optimus saying, hey, you know, you betrayed your world. You betrayed me. You know, the one who always had your back, your friend, you know. Paraphrasing. And he tells him, just, you know, go. Get out of here. And take those other evil ones with you, you know. So, now that everyone gets their cogs back, you know, they can transform now. Now they become Optimus Prime has now become the leader of the Autobots, and they save their world. And now that's when, you know, he's like talking now basically in the sense of Peter Cullen. I am Optimus Prime. So, yeah, Transformers 1, I liked it, you know. And I really did enjoy it, you know. I think it was a story-wise, because, yeah, I thought it was a good story because we see how although we expected because we know that they're enemies of each other, right? But I like this the fact that these two were close were close friends, having fun with each other until this journey came. We see Megatron slowly changing, going towards the dark side. If you want to reference that, he slowly becomes towards the dark side. And now becomes he becomes leader of the Decepticons, and it's actually the symbol that he put on, which is the symbol of the Decepticons. In the beginning, which kind of made seem like it was silly though, but then later when Sentinel Prime, he kind of blowtorches that logo onto him, and now that becomes his symbol. Now, I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of he blowtorches that symbol onto him now permanently, and now it's on his plate, and I was like, oh crap, Okay. That was kind of a little of a dark moment there. So yeah. I mean, overall the cast I thought did fine. I think Chris Hemsworth, I think he, compared to all the roles he's doing, acting all silly and goofy, and I think it was he was much better here, because especially his dumb role in acting all goofy and the Mad Max prequel, Furiosa, or the recent just acting like an idiot as Thor acting like a moron, So, but I thought overall Chris Hemsworth, I thought he played Optimus pretty fine. Tyree Henry as Megatron, I thought he did fine too. Scarlett Johansson, like I said, she was doing the best, but I didn't really care about her character either. Same with Keegan-Michael Key, he just annoyed me, he did. I'm like, why did we have to have a comic book relief in Bumblebee, I mean, Steve Buscemi was nice to hear him too, because we hear him as, like I was mentioned, as Starscream. We see, when Megatron was fighting him, like we see him grab his throat and becomes like his voice a little more higher than it was, becoming how Starscream was, But like I said, I'm no expert on Transformers, so I don't know much about the whole story and the lore of these Autobots and Decepticons. John Hamm, I thought was good I like John Hamm as an actress. He was good as Sentinel Prime. It was nice to hear Laurence Fishburne as well. But yeah, I thought the animation was well done. And like I said, when it was getting serious, like first half it was, a little bit silly, with the fun, with them acting all silly and stuff like that. But when the second half happens, that's when pretty much shit hits the fan. It's getting more serious now. That's why I was getting more intrigued in the story now. And like I said, with the relation between Optimus Prime and Megatron, shows how they were close once, and then slowly they drifted apart, become enemies now. Like I say, it's cliche because we've seen that kind of situation happen before plenty of times though, but it's to be expected though. But it was nice to say like, oh, they were friends once, they were having fun with each other, having kind of acting like brothers, and now they've now become enemies of each other now. Because I think even there were in the ending of the first Transformers film, by the end, after when Shia LaBeouf put the Matrix in Megatron, right? Even after that, Optimus Prime was saying, "Hey," he mentioned called Megatron brother. So I think maybe that was a reference too, because, like I said, they were like this. They were like friends, kind of like brothers, right? I think that was mentioned because of the ending of the first Transformers. Like Prime called Megatron brother, which kind of now look on this, it makes sense because they were very close once, and now Megatron hates him and turned to the dark side now. So, but yeah, I really overall did enjoy Transformers 1. It was a surprise to me. So, too bad it won't be a sequel because the film underperformed, sad to say though. But overall, yeah, I really thought that was a very decent movie. More than decent, I really did. I thought it was pretty good. I will say that it was a pretty good film. Sadly though, the marketing killed this film because they just did such a shit job with it. I mean, you go back and look at the first trailer for this, and you tell me how poorly they made this film, how they marketed this film. They did such a shit job with how this, and that's why people did not see it. That's why the film underperformed, and because of whoever did the marketing for this film did such a shit job, and you should be fired. I mean, yeah, I do things that I know I complain a lot in trailers how they always give everything away in trailers, though. Very little times they don't do that, which I do appreciate, but that's very little times, though. But in this case, though, they did such a shit job marketing this film. That's why the film bombed. So, but overall, I still thought that was a pretty good. To me, I think I like this better than the original '80s animated film. I know, shame on me, sue me. I know, but like I said, I just was not a fan of the original '80s film. So, a couple of positives I could talk about it though, but I just didn't like that original animated film. To me, I'm sorry to say, I thought this was handled much better. And no human characters, which I do appreciate, because that's one of the things I was dragging along with those Michael Bay films, because a lot of times you don't care about the human characters. I mean, I like Shia LaBeouf, and Tyrese Gibson, Josh Duhamel, though. But a lot of times, they're just other human characters were not as boring, though, annoying or forgettable. But all that said, though, Transformers 1, pretty good one. So, a surprise to me. So I'm glad I gave this a chance, So yeah, but thanks for watching, stay tuned, and we'll see you next time. Later.